Your method's probably more efficient.
Let it breathe. Let the beard breathe, and the beard's glories and all of its fecal matter.
All of its fecal matter.
Well, they say beard's got like all sorts of shit in it, even shit.
Well, everything does.
It's like a filter.
Anything that's passed through a restroom has collected.
It's filtered into the... Come here, honey, let me kiss your face. All right, let's start this thing.
All right. Is that our official beginning?
Yes. Hey guys, what's happening? It's Ike from Flipside Music, and welcome to What the F.A.Q, episode 8, season 2, and I'm here with my trusty
sidekick Dylan.
I didn't want to say sidekick.
Yeah, I don't know.
That might be, I don't know if you can...
Trusty something. Trusty Dylan.
It was my trusty Dylan. I don't know if that sounds any freaking better.
Dylan, with the getting notes and stuff.
Darren!
Write this down.
Oh, what's happening, everybody? So for those of you that are brand new here to the extravaganza, it is a weekly question and answer show where you give us a question and we give you an answer of some sort, and hopefully with some,
relative
intelligence and knowledge behind it.
Yeah, or guesstimation.
Yeah, may not always be, might be.
Yeah.
But, and for those of you that have been here, thank you. The gluttons.
Yeah, thanks for sticking through it. Yeah.
Sticking through it with it for a while, actually. We did get a cool little bump of subscribers from Dylan did a live show with Ben Coombs the other day, and then we also...
I thought we'd lose some, no kidding.
No, we actually gained some from that, and
right.
I think we gained a few from, I don't know, Ben was mentioning us, so thank you, Ben. Ben Coombs is our preferred Canadian YouTuber. Yes.
And Lawrence from LPD.
Yeah, Lawrence
gave us
Petross.
A shout out too.
Yeah, that was cool. So we just brought Lawrence Petross pedals into the shop. So, yep, into the scene. It's all screwed up. I don't know what's going on. I hope you guys can see that. It's in Wawa Vision.
I got the true bypass version.
Wawa Vision. This is actually the LPD Lawrence Petross Design 74. This is actually real. I plugged this in yesterday.
That was the one I was the most curious about.
I liked what was going on here a lot.
Yeah.
The 68 is more of an overdrive. So
that's what I figured.
The 68 is not a heavier drive, but I liked what that did, and I think that would be super cool, like a stack option.
Yeah.
So I really liked the 68, but this one had...
Yeah, I didn't realize a lot of what he was basing, I guess, some of the shifts on, or some of the tube changes made over the years, too, in terms of the power sections.
Oh, okay.
So some of, I guess, in terms of, like the 8070 is the red and green, which kind of approximate, like, the two different ones. And then I think the 68, I thought he went with maybe the KT66 sound, but I can't remember if I'm accurate on the year on that one or not, but...
Either way.
But anyway, that's the vibe. Yeah, he's got kind of like the 68 plexi vibe on that one, the 87, and then...
Yeah, that's the 87.
The 74 is going for more of that JMP.
Yeah. So, but it was cool. I like all the pedals so far. The 68 and the 74 were the ones I got a chance to finally get to at the end of the day yesterday. It was just kind of madness.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to trying out the 87 today, but... We wanted to welcome in Lawrence. Lawrence. Sorry, dude. Petross to the family of pedals.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those will definitely fit in for sure here. All that stuff, all stuff we definitely, the Marshall boxes is fun. That's actually the one that's the one I felt like was not the most mysterious, but the most, I guess, interesting from the demos, because it felt like it was going everything from like Fuzzrite to Tone Bender to
that one
to Muff, all kinds of spots in between.
We can kind of try that one out before we get going. So we got those. We also got Ren and Cuff coming in.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Delicious palette of fuzzes.
Yes, it's all fuzz all the time.
Yeah, that the Russian one you picked up looks pretty awesome. Like their deluxe, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But that's a little recap. So you guys know some cool new stuff that's coming in. Lawrence Petross stuff is on the website. Ren and Cuff is not just yet. So
yeah, it's being added currently, but yeah, we haven't got it in quite yet in terms of the stuff for the pictures. But
just got restocked with Chase Bliss too, so that's cool.
Yeah, it just came in this morning.
All right.
Yeah, moods, by the way. I'm sure there's some moods in there.
Yeah.
Everybody's been after us about those.
Good moods, bad moods.
Yeah. Weird moods.
So, speaking of shitty jokes. So, I watched the greatest of all shitty B movies.
Oh, you finally found the one?
I think I found the one that has capped it for me. So, if you guys don't know this, I really like crappy movies.
All kinds.
Like B movies, sci-fi, like old ones from the the 50s, and like, stupid monsters.
Yeah,
like
bad kung fu movies too.
I love that shit. I have no idea why. I think it's because that way there's no expectation of greatness. It's just it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be.
I love watching old stuff because like a lot of the actors, like just the overacting it was next level. Yeah.
So if you guys want to watch a really like terrible movie and enjoy yourself, have a couple beers or whatever it is that you do to mellow yourself out, watch The Naked Monster.
The Naked Monster.
The Naked Monster. It's fantastic. The monster's got like 3 eyeballs. It's just a dude in a suit. It's the greatest of all time. And it's not that old.
Okay.
So
you're relatively fresh.
Yeah, and it's like a bunch of dad jokes, and it's just really, it's awesome. So, The Naked Monster, go watch that.
All right. Well, yeah, that should be part of your channel.
I
shitty movie reviews.
That's a good idea. You get meatballs, woodworking, and shitty movie reviews, along with guitar playing and whatever. So,
yeah. All right,
let's get this started before we get
question numero uno from Patrick Doobie. No, so I'm kidding. Patrick Dubois. Any cool guitar pedals that can be used on a bass? Yes, several. Lots.
Thanks for asking. All right, sounds like the next one.
Yeah. No, actually, honestly, most companies these days, like Walrus, Earthquaker, like even a lot of these companies tend to just do everything full frequency these days. So
so that way you can get that bass get through there.
Yeah, I would say like the only things that maybe don't work, there's no reason any of them couldn't work. It's really just certain like drive pedals are probably going to limit your frequency range a bit. That's the only thing I can really think of that's specifically not preferred. Other than that, like all modulation stuff, octave pedals.
That stuff will pass.
Yeah, and I think all bass players that come through here are not nearly as picky as guitar players most of the time.
No,
they're willing to try just about anything, and if it sounds good, they'll use it, and if it doesn't, they don't care. So,
well, that's what I've always said about bass players with basses.
Right.
Like they are not headstock specific.
Yeah.
For the most part, most bass players are like, if you give them a piece of wood that sounds good,
no
matter how shitty it looks, they will play it because it's just if it feels right and it brings the funk, brings the thunder.
Yeah.
Then they'll play it.
Thump. Yep.
And we might be looking into some bass specific pedals from a company that's pretty popular.
Yeah. I'd say one of the favorites though, the Rat is probably one of the biggest more guitar players use it, but we have a ton of bass players that love to go for like the Rat style pedals. So that's probably one of the bigger ones. Trying to think of anything else in particular that we really sell to bass players a lot that is usually a guitar thing.
Pitchfork.
Yeah.
Where they get the up octave a little bit.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Yeah, especially like if you guys like Royal Blood at all, I believe he used one, and he's Pogs in general are kind of that vibe. But yeah, I mean modulation. Honestly, like I said, bass players, if it sounds cool to them, they'll use it. So
yeah,
I don't think they care if somebody designed it for a guitar or not.
So there you go, Mr. Dubois.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Ivan Carter.
Ivan Carter asks, what is the best acoustic reverb pedal?
This one's kind of out of my wheelhouse, my normal wheelhouse anyway.
Yes, and for us too, but the only thing I have to add is that I've heard really good things about the LR Bags acoustic series of pedals. We don't have them in currently, but we should probably look at that. Should be another one we should put on the list. Yeah. Just because we do have
a lot of other pedals. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But we have a solid amount of acoustic folks that have come through looking for acoustic specific, and I think it's it's kind of tuned a little bit more towards the goodness of the acoustic. But I would look into the LR Bag stuff because I've heard very good things about that that series of pedals.
I imagine acoustic reverb is, I don't want to say tough, but I feel like a little would do a lot. So
yes,
yeah. So I feel like that's probably why they got to attenuate them to where it's just not quite as washy or not quite as slap. not too much decay, or else you'll just start getting weird resonance or weird. It won't even really. I don't know. I feel like that would be a tough one to find too.
For me, there just seems to be like a fine window with acoustic guitars as far as with like a verb and a delay. Like there's just, to me, it's a smaller window to make it sound right. Otherwise, it sounds just too, like you said, it's too washy or too big, just not right. Like you're just in a whole nother.
Yeah, because I think really with especially acoustic reverbs, I imagine the goal would really just to make it sound like you're in a slightly bigger room. You wouldn't want it to get
more of a boom.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it to get too atmospheric or anything. I mean, I'm sure you could, but most of the time you wouldn't want it. Yeah, most of the time I imagine if you're strumming a lot, you wouldn't want anything too crazy. So, that one honestly not normally in our, but I would definitely check out the LR bag stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Headwalk 26.
Headwalk 26.
Fender Headstocks, fat ones or skinny ones? He says he loves the pre-CBS ones, the skinny guys. I kind of like both, depending, but
yeah, I kind of like both, depending. I'm kind of a lifelong Fender guy. I prefer the older ones, but I do have. Well, I got that Tele Deluxe that's got the big '70s headstock on it, and I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like I like the '50s ones and the '70s ones. The '60s ones aren't. It's not. I guess it's not that I don't like them. They're more. I don't know. They're not as noteworthy to me.
Yeah.
Whereas like the '50s ones are, they're a little skinnier and they have that kind of slimmer profile, and then the '70s ones always cool. Looks like a giant shark fin.
Yeah, they're just fat.
Looks like a wave, which I always thought was cool. And I know Robin Trower used to say, like, because his signature, he used to try to say having the extra bit of material on there actually helped. Yeah, but you never know. But
I mean, it's a little bit more mass to the overall guitar, so I can see where somebody could go. Well,
especially since that's that's another spot that the strings are attached. I don't know if that would help with resonance or not. I don't know. It's an interesting thought, though.
Yes. We should ponder upon such things.
Yeah.
The stillness of the pond. Okay.
Headwalk number 2, or his question number 2.
2 questions.
Yeah. One guitar myth that always gets me is he basically is having to play Gretsch guitars with 11s or heavier. So that's one that people have told him a lot, and that's one I know, because like the first time I played his Gretsch, that was something he asked me. He's like, "Do you think you have to play?"
Thing?
Well, yeah. He's like, "Do you really think you have to play 11s on them?" I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing, but
I didn't know that was a thing either. But because I don't.
I mean, I guess
I don't know. I just say do your own thing. And if you don't want to play 11s, and I mean,
I don't know. Because Jake loves 9s. He's always, as long as I've known him, he's used. But as long as I've known him, he's used 9s, and he does more of the rockabilly punk stuff. And I mean, I don't, I think more gigging players, or at least more, well-known musicians tend to play 9s than 10s these days. So I mean, I think especially with his particular Gretsch, I don't think it's that necessary. I guess if you were playing jazz or something, I could see it, but that's more of a genre specific thing.
But also, they're not playing. I don't think there's.
I don't know.
I don't think Gretches are going to be the number one jazz.
You could though, right?
Well, you could play jazz.
I mean, they have the nice.
You could play jazz on a telly.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it.
I wonder where the origin of that.
Play what you
want.
want.
I'll have to ask him though, like where the origin of that comes from.
Maybe it's a slide thing. Maybe if there was because there was some slide. I mean, that could be a reason why they went that way. What are some other guitar myths that you hear the most that bother you?
Guitar specific ones.
Guitar myths. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
We'd probably come up with a list if we weren't on the spot.
Yeah.
If we were probably just drinking a beer, we'd be like,
yeah, if the ones just randomly kind of came up. Yeah. No, I feel like kind of what you've always said about like where things are built. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a myth, but I do feel like people act like there's some kind of weird extra mojo if it's built in the U.S. And I agree supporting U.S. companies and all that for sure.
Well, yeah.
Like we have a ton that we love to support. It's just that like you said, there's plenty of good craftsmen out in the world that have made amazing things in all kinds of different countries.
In every country.
Yeah, so it's like just to think that somebody can't make a guitar just because they're from a certain country. I think that'd be a big one that I feel like a lot of people tend to like. At the buyer's market's one thing; those people are going more for like swapping and trading and value.
Right.
But like in terms of a guitar you're gonna play, like I think if You know, if you like it, it shouldn't matter
Yeah.
where the guy was that made it. You know what I mean?
Just play it.
Yeah.
I agree.
That would be a big one. I mean, there's some pedal myths I feel like that come up quite a bit. You know, like Iomi and fuzzes.
Yeah,
That's a big one that comes up a lot. Like people always come in here and ask me like what fuzz Iomi used, and it's always something I gotta explain. Like Jake knows that drives me nuts just because Iomi never used a fuzz, but it's just one of those things that people wow, what fuzz do I use to get Iomi's tone? It's like you don't.
Here, take this one. I think other guitar myths. I just I think that maybe the whole Tonewood thing is an interesting one that's out there.
Yeah.
I also maybe the way you wind your strings is another good myth that could be out there. I'm not going to comment on either one of them because I don't want to start any shit. But especially with the Tonewood stuff. Well,
like parts of that, I mean, it's weird because like if you're, I don't know, it's such a thing because it's like every piece of wood, even within the same species of wood, isn't necessarily going to be the same. So it's like if you're getting down to like the densities of the wood and how that factors into energy transference and all that shit that people always go back and forth about.
Right.
It's like I feel like you'd have to get a wide enough sample group of that species of wood to even know what the median density would be.
And you couldn't use the same piece of wood.
No.
Because if you had the same piece of wood and then you wanted to put like a coating on it, then you'd have to take the coating off. You'd have to
you couldn't go back and forth to compare it.
The same thing.
Right,
so
you'd have to have two pieces that were roughly equal.
I mean, you could use.
There's ways you can test it, but it's just I feel like
I personally, think that there's clearly pickups to me make more impression on an electric than if you. I think a maple or rosewood board.
Yeah, I think we've
Like,
kind of figured that out for years. Like, like the pickups make the biggest impact, or at least a massive one, if you're doing a percentage. The woods are probably make a difference, but it's not that.
Yeah,
like once you're at band volumes, it's negligible compared to if you just swapped a pickup out. The difference you might get.
Right, I think you get more of a difference out of the pickup and clearly out of your amplifier is going to make a difference. But it's like, I was watching somebody and they were talking about Telecasters and like, why don't so-and-so use more? It's like, hey, Jim Root uses a Tele.
Right.
John 5 uses a Tele.
Yeah.
There's some dudes playing heavier stuff that play Teles and,
I think
it's heavy.
I think guitar players are weird because like, if you have a good night with something or a good time with like a certain guitar or a good time with a certain pedal, you feel like it's that like something about it. You narrow in on like the one thing that's different, and you're like, that's what it is. That's what made the difference, whether it was that or not.
The thing is, if you do that when you're playing out, that's a whole nother story because you don't know if it's the room, how many people were in the fucking room, how deep is the room, how high are the ceilings. There's so many factors that would contribute to that. I don't know.
Well, even like
we could probably write a huge list of myths if we really wanted to get after it.
Well, even like Texas Toast days when we were messing with the Tele that Chris did, like the mahogany neck Tele. I've never played a mahogany neck Tele.
It was awesome.
It totally felt different, but it felt great. Like it completely felt different, but it felt great. And that's one of those things though. Like I feel like sonically, probably not like this massive difference, but if you felt like it performed better for you, you'd be like, that's what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think to be honest, part of it is just it's small things.
Right.
Small things on top of small things on top of small things kind of contribute to something.
But I think the human brain makes you like attribute like whatever that one thing is that's different. Yeah. That must have been the one thing that made it better.
That one tuning key's got a white tuning knob, and that's why this guitar is awesome.
Right. All right.
So all right, let's go.
Mr. Coombs, let me see how we're doing on time.
We're
fine. We're fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where are we at?
This might be a longer episode. It's 11:50.
Oh shit, we got time.
We're good. Ben
Coombs, Canadian YouTuber.
Yeah.
Preferred Canadian YouTuber.
Ben Coombs' question. My question keeps going. Too many questions. All right. How much do you annoy your friends and family with unwanted gear talk? Certain family members, probably a lot. Other ones, Well, I know they don't care, so I don't even really get into it. But there's other ones there's other family members that have hobbies that I know that they know is equivalent. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like my grandpa like doesn't play or anything and never has, but like you know, like he's into woodworking, so like he totally understands, you know, fascination with certain hobbies.
Things.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's not something he does, but it's something he can appreciate.
Right.
And so he doesn't, you know, if we're talking about stuff like that, or if I get into details, he might not know what I'm specifically talking about, but he's not going to be like, who cares?
Shut up out here. Right. For me, most of my friends are.
Well, I was going to say that's the thing.
For me, most of my friends are musicians.
Yeah.
So we end up kind of talking about gear.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about movies and other shit and stuff, but I don't think like my family isn't really into this stuff, so I don't really talk to them about gear because they don't give a shit.
Yeah, my favorite's probably annoying drummers, because like my mom plays drums, and then Connor, I always annoy him. It's like because the drummers, like, they hear it and like they'll usually it's funny because they'll be nice and tell you like, oh, your tone sounded good tonight or whatever it was, and then once you start telling them about it, they're like, oh, God, just like,
I think if I do that and change this out, they're like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, they're like, I just wanted you to know it sounded better than that.
Right. I hit things with sticks. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
So I don't. Yeah, I mean, I've had girlfriend stuff where it's like I can't. Well, you can just see them glaze over, and I'm like, okay, she's lost. So she clearly doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
So I'm just gonna change the subject to something else that's more generic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things though. Like if somebody doesn't have a hobby, those are the people you might annoy the most, because then they just don't understand and they need to get a hobby.
And that's why, like, when some people start talking about something that they and I go, I don't know. But I always have a tendency to, a lot of times where I'm like, if I'm even slightly interested in something, I'm like, oh, so what's that about?
Yeah.
So how did you get into that? You know, like, I start doing my thing.
Right.
Like, I like to have a conversation going, okay, I have no idea about fly fishing.
Right.
Don't know shit. But if somebody's into it, I would go, oh, so what are places you go? What do you look for? Like, what kind of stuff, and then I start trying to find the gear equivalent to, the guitar gear equivalent to like fly fishing. Like, oh, there's got to be like a bajillion reels, and they all have to do like a different thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I almost would like equate like the rods to the guitars, the reels probably like pick up.
This one is made out of this, and it's got flex and.
So. The fishing line versus strings and the whole thing. Yeah. No, I'm the same thing. I feel like when we get bicycle guys that come in here, well, both bike guys, motorcycles and bikes. I think they'll tend to go into those things too, and it's like that's not something I know a lot about or am heavily interested in, but it's at the same time, like I totally get.
Yeah, the passion.
Yeah, and even the approach.
Like when Wolfgang comes in.
Right.
Starts talking about he was in here yesterday.
Probably Monday. It was Monday. He's usually on Monday.
So he came in and was telling us about it. He did like an 80-mile freaking. He's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's something. Yeah, like if you have a hobby that's anything like this stuff with lots of weird little bits and parts and things, then you understand.
Yes.
Last question, Mike Rohde, and this one's kind of a lengthy question, but I'll try to get through. A year ago, he says he took in his 2012 SG61 reissue to have a setup done. He said he took it to one of the highest rated techs in the Kansas City area. The guy told him that he needed a fret level and a crown and a setup to match the one that he did to his Les Paul. So he said in the process, the guy put a few thumbnail scratches on the neck when he was taking the tape off. Said he offered him like a $50 reduction, which he accepted. But he's asking if he got hosed and if how much that damage would end up devaluing his guitar. So the severity of the scratches would probably be what I would.
Yeah, we'd have to see how. Number one.
Well, is
this guy like is he like a
werewolf or something?
Yeah, is he like a pterodactyl?
Yeah.
Because what kind of thumbnails has this guy got that he's scratching up your freaking fretboard?
Yeah, or even
your neck, right? Is that what he said?
I imagine it was probably he taped the edges of the neck. I bet.
Yeah. So scratches on the neck. Okay, how? I mean, what kind of fingernails has this guy got?
Yeah, I mean,
you got Edward Scissorhands is like a freaking tech for you, Mike Rohde? Because that seems like a lot of.
Yeah, I would almost see like the files for the fret files doing more damage. Than
because somebody's fingernail, especially with, you're looking at an SG, so, has it got a candy coating on it?
Yeah, he didn't really say if it was a standard or not, so we don't know if it's bound. Because if it's bound, like, one. Yeah,
Right.
no
How
way.
did you do? How did it
Yeah,
do
and
it?
if it's heavy finish too, that's another one. Like how would that even? So I feel like that's either maybe a tool or something.
Yeah. So I'm questioning it. I mean, the fact that he crowned and leveled and everything. I mean, that seems normal depending on how you want your setup done,
Right.
and especially if it's a little bit wonky, it could be.
Yeah, those could be necessary things. Yeah.
But the scratches on the neck, that throws me off because I've done some
Well, one, it
plenty
shouldn't
of
have happened.
stuff, and
Yeah.
how did you put that heavy of a scratch
That the
is
customer
noticeable
noticed,
in it? Because there's ways to. If it's got a candy coated finish, you could buff that out,
Right.
most likely. A fingernail scratch, though. You got it. Like I said.
Well, yeah.
What do you got?
Exactly,
You
yeah.
got cocaine nails?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? Like that is some sharp ass shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like
so that's my
and
send
the amount
us
of
pictures.
pressure.
I would love to see the pictures.
Yeah, the amount of pressure that the guy would have to apply, to
right.
get into the like that would be.
Because most of the tape that would be used is a very low tack.
Yeah, like painter's tape usually.
Yeah,
I mean,
like a
that's
low,
what,
like a
90%
low
of
tack,
people,
low tack painter's tape, which just literally you grab the edge and it comes right off. We either,
sometimes it comes off and you don't even want it to.
Right.
Yeah.
We use that all the time because we're dry up here in Colorado, so we got to do a little front end,
It's probably the
dance.
most common thing here.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that gets us the most. So I.
Yeah,
I
no,
do
it makes
pretty
me
often.
Yeah,
and
like,
I've never scratched up something like that with just taking painter's tape off. So
that's why I almost wonder if like
skeptical.
the dude told him that just to like make him not as worried, to make him think like, hey, you didn't mess up with the tool, but at the same time it's like
he could have scratched it with the tool. Not saying he did, not saying he's full of shit, but if I had to put money on, I would. There's holes in the story. I don't think this story holds water.
Right.
So you're trying to tell me that this car's got positive traction? Sorry.
Well, yeah, $50. It depends. The severity of the scratches. If something like that happened here, I don't know. I feel like depending on how severe it would be, it's never happened, so we can't say. But
right. Yeah.
if it did,
things happen. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it did, I don't know.
Like
I don't know. Our tech would probably feel bad enough. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even make it a thing.
He'd probably just make it right before he even got it.
Right. He would probably try to fix it before you even knew it was an issue if he could.
Right.
But
so that's what I would do. Not trying to be deceptive, but if I put a little bit of a scratch on a neck,
you try your best to fix it.
We got buffing compound and stuff, and then we got scratch remover stuff that we use when we get used gear. When we get used guitars in, sometimes they'll have buckle rash, or they'll have some scuffing in the front, and we got some compounds that we use that work great because they're only surface, and it gets those out. Now, if it's a deeper, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's why if it's a severe thing, then in terms of devaluing, we can't really say until we would see it. But it could be a lot, it could be a little. It's hard to.
Right. Because if it's a divot, then that ain't a fingernail scratch.
Right.
That's a bullshit story.
Yeah, that's a.
I'm gonna call
I dropped it, or
I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
But if you want to, man, feel free. Take some pictures and send it to us on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Through Facebook Messenger. Well, I'd love to take a look and see what you're talking about.
Yeah. We could even.
Now you got me. Now I'm like, curious. So.
We even have Nick take a look at it too, if you wanted.
Yeah. So. I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. Thanks everybody for participating with the F.A.Q. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're still here. Probably not. There's a little bell. You can hit that. It'll let you know every time that we set up a video. We do have another video coming up.
Shit, left the fan on.
YouTube. Oh, we did. It's all right. I'll have to.
Hey, MJ,
I'll take it out
buddy.
in post. Take it out in post. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. So hit the like button. Do all that crazy shit. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Yeah.
You're on the Dr. Phil show. A problem is that you're into yourself, that you flirt with girls, that you're not plugged into your marriage.